Welcome to a class in Unit 9 where we're going to look at the mortgage markets. So mortgage markets are specifically organized markets with specialized segments of border capital that facilitates lending and borrowing of funds for purchase of real estate. The real estate, that's mainly the use. So unlike the capital markets, which we looked at to do with bonds and stocks or corporate debt. The mortgage markets primarily are focused on long-term financing, where you are going to secure money for real property. So these markets play an important role in providing liquidity, basically for the housing market to enable you and me become homeowners. We have one bank, ZNBS, I mentioned Building Society, which facilitates for that. All right, so question number one, distinguish between um, the mortgage markets and other capital markets. What's the difference between the mortgage market and other uh, markets? And question number two, what are the differences between the prime and subprime mortgages? Okay, anyone wants to try question number one from the activities? What is the difference between the mortgage and other capital markets?
Okay, maybe I could try.
Mm-hmm.
So, the difference between the mortgage markets and other markets is maybe it's with regards to the purpose of the funds used. In the mortgage markets, the funds are mainly used for buying land or maybe building or refinancing property. But for other markets, the funds used for business expansion, maybe government spending. It's not really tied to buying of property or
Exactly.
building.
Yes. So the focus for mortgage market is that of real estate loans, whereas other capital markets, their main focus looks at stocks, bonds, and other securities. And if you're dealing with collateral for mortgage markets, usually that property that you're building or other property is used for collateral. But for other, you can use usually unsecured um, requirements, except bonds. They're usually unsecured. In terms of duration of time, for capital markets, there we also have short and long term, but for mortgage markets, usually long term, 15 years to 30. And the return for mortgage markets, it's usually interest income, whereas these others can have dividends, interest, and capital gains. In terms of liquidity for mortgage markets, usually we have lower liquidity, and for other capital markets, this liquidity is high. So those are the differences that you can run to. So mortgage market specifically deals with loans that is secured by real estate. It's long term, it's collateralized income, whereas other capital markets, they include stock, bonds, and involve equity and debt. Okay, is that clear? The second question is, what is the difference between prime and subprime mortgages? Prime and subprime mortgages. So when dealing with prime mortgages, these are offered to borrowers who have demonstrated creditworthiness and have stable financial histories. So their key features are they are trustworthy, there is lower interest rates for them to reflect their low default. Okay, they also have lower default risk. The lenders have high confidence in these people that they will pay back. And typical borrowers here are mid to high income class with stable employment history. So a homeowner with credit score of maybe 720 will receive 5% fixed rate as prime borrower. And subprime mortgages are designed for borrowers with weak credit histories. and they have some past delinquencies where they are stable income and they are high risk, um, you know, the default could be high, and also high interest are made on them because in the case of a default, they can be compensated. Then they have potential financial instability, so high likelihood of foreclosure payments that could be missed, and the targeted the low income. So a borrower with a credit score of over 600 or less will get 10%. So the differences in credit history for prime, it is strong. For subprime, it's weak or poor. The interest is lower for prime and high for subprime. The default risk is low for prime and subprime is high. And the profile is we have stable income for prime and unstable income for subprime. Are we together? Is that clear?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. So we go to question number 3 and 4. Question number 3 and 4. So compare and contrast the fixed rate mortgage rates and the adjustable rate mortgages, and also describe the various types of residential mortgage available to homeowners. What are fixed rate mortgages and adjustable rate mortgages? And what are the types of residential mortgage available to the borrowers? Anyone? And explain this in the other class. Okay, so we have fixed rate and adjustable rate mortgages, ARM. When dealing with a fixed rate, the interest rate is constant. Okay, whereas the adjustable, it varies with time. The monthly payment for the fixed is predictable. For the adjustable, it fluctuates. The risk to the borrower is low for the fixed and higher for the adjustable. The initial rates, they're usually higher for the comparatively. And in terms of long-term planning, it's easy for the fixed and it's unpredictable for the others. And there are various types of residential mortgage available. We have what we call the conventional mortgage, which is not issued by government. It's a standard lending. It has standard lending terms. We also have the Federal Housing Administration FHA mortgage, which is issued by the Federal Housing Administration. It allows lower down payments. We have the VA, okay, which is the Veteran Affairs mortgage, which is for veterans. Okay, it's often zero down payment. We also have interest only mortgage, where borrowers only pay interest initially. We have what we call the balloon mortgage for small payments initially, or large payments at the end of the term. We have reverse mortgage for seniors. Okay, you can convert it to home equity into cash. Okay, now let's go to a bit of some calculation now. Question number 5, compute the required monthly payments on 80,000 3-year fixed mortgage with a nominal interest of 5.80. So the repayment. So I took you through calculation of an annuity, how we're doing with annuities. So how do we calculate that? So we use the present value of an annuity. Okay, let's go to the pamphlet on page 17. So say the amount of the loan is equal to the periodic payment in the present value of an annuity, PVA. Remember the formula for the PVA, the amount of loan payment. We have what? 1 plus 1 plus R power what? Time N over the R. So how much was our loan? Our loan was 80,000. So we put 80,000 here. Then the payment is what we don't know. Then the interest rate is what? The interest rate is 5.8% monthly. So we know that for the time monthly, we usually divide the interest rates by the number of compoundings. For the time, we multiply the interest rate by the number of compoundings. So monthly means what? M is equal to 12. So the interest rate is 5.8%. 5.8%. So 0.058 divided by 12. Okay, which is equal to 0.058 divided by 12. What do we get? 0.00, okay, 4833. The time is how many years? Okay, how many years? 30 years. So multiply the 30 times 12. 30 times 12, we're going to get 360. So here we're going to have 1 plus R. So 1 plus 0.048 will be 0.004833. The power negative time, so negative 360 here. Over our R, right rate is what? 0.00833. So if you want, you can go to the table for the annuity. Just go under. Problem, you can't use the table here because these rates are tricky. So 1 to 0.4% under 36. So you just have to calculate it. I'd have shown you how to use the table, but it's just better off here. Okay. So um so we're going to have, are we together so far? Are we together so far? So 80,000 is equal to P, then this part here, when you divide it, you're going to get 171.5. So you divide both sides by 171.5, 171.5. So you get your periodic payment to be 466.45. That is the periodic payment. Are we together? So you try. Suppose the amount of loan, the example we did some time back, is 1,000 kwacha. And your interest rate is 10%. And your time in years is 3 years, compounded annually. Calculate for me the periodic payment for the mortgage. Start. So amount of loan is equal to what? A periodic payment times what? The present value annuity interest factor. This is 10% and in 3 years. So what is the amount of loan? 1,000. The periodic payment is what we're looking for. The annuity factor is 1 minus 1 plus R is 10%, so 1.10 to the power negative t. Our time is 3 years. So 3 years is annually. If it was semi-annually, you'd have by the 3 years times that times 2 and divided by the 10% divided by 2 would have been 0.05 here. Then divided by the interest rate of 10%, our R, which is coming from this formula here. Then you can go on the table, 10% under 3 for the present value annuity, or you can calculate it here normally. Then you get 2.487. Then you divide both sides by annuity factor. You're going to get our periodic payment to be 403. And we did this as we're doing the annuities. Any questions at this point? So any questions at this point? Any questions at this point? So this is how you calculate the loan payment. So let's try question number 9. This is the one we're doing. calculate the monthly payment for 95,000. Question 9.3. Huh? The loan payment of 95,000 at 8% over 30 years. Who wants to try this one? What are we going to do? What are we given? Are we together? Am I alone? Or we're together? So are we together? Can you hear me? Can you get me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so
Yes, Collins, we can get you.
let me again go to the aspect of loan amortization. What is to amortize a loan? What is to amortize a loan? Amortize a loan is when you make a payment plan that will fully repay the loan. Okay, so you need to understand that here we are using present value annuity. Okay, so to amortize a loan is simply to find a payment strategy. How are we going to pay back this loan? So if, for instance, you're given a loan of 1,000, the amount of loan is 1,000. This loan has an interest rate of 10%. And it is a loan for 3 years. So we're going to do two things to come up with the amortization schedule. Three years, and is annually, meaning once a year. So loan amortization will usually come. Here we did a question on loan amortization. So how do we find the periodic payment? The amount of loan is equal to the periodic payment then 1 minus 1 plus r to the power time negative time over r in the mortgage market. So here we have 1,000 kwacha as our amount of loan. The payment we are calculating here. 1 minus 10% over 0.10. The power, how many years? 3 years. So here we're going to have 1,000. The payment, we don't know. When you calculate this part here, we're going to have 2.487. That's the present value of the annuity. And we divide both sides by the 2.487. 4.87. So here payment is going to be 403. Then we're going to set up the amortization table. Okay, so these are 3 years. If you want, you can put the years. Okay, so beginning balance. Then we have what? The payment. Then we have what? The interest. Then we have what? Loan repaid. Then we have what? The balance. So we started with 1,000 kwacha. This loan repayment is 403 throughout for 3 years. 403, 403, 403. The repayment is interest rate of how much? Is 10%. So 10% multiply R times column 1. So 10% of 1,000 is 100. Then the repayment, you just subtract. This is column 1, column 2, and column 3. So subtract column 2 minus column 3.
Mr. Njovu, sorry to disturb. I can't see the screen.
Oh, okay. Are you able to see it now?
I can, yeah, now it's visible.
So we have the amount of loan, which is 1,000, the interest rate 10%, the time is 3 years, and it's compounded annually. So the amount of loan is equal to payment 1 plus 1 minus 1 plus R to the power negative time over R. So what was our amount of loan? 1,000. The payment we don't know. In the open brackets here, this is 1 minus 1 plus R. This is 10%, so 1.10. The power negative time, our time is 3 years, so negative 3 over 10%, 0.10. Okay, so when you compute this properly, you're going to get 2.487. So you divide the 2.487 on both sides, you're going to get 403 as a periodic payment. This is how much we'll be paying yearly. So the 403 goes there. So this is what we call the amortization schedule table. So we are told that 1,000 is the amount we started with. The periodic payment, we put it there. So our R is 10%. So 10% of 1,000, so it's R times column 1. So 10% of column 1 is 100. Then we get to column 4. How do we get column 4? It's column 2 minus column 3. 403 minus 100 is 30. 30. Supposed to be 402 in fact. Okay. 402 minus 100 is 302. Then column 5. How do you get column 5? It's simply column 1 minus column 4. So 1,000 minus 302, we get 698. So 698 becomes the opening balance here. 698. Can somebody help us? How do we get column 3? Column 1 times the interest rate. So 10% of 698, 69.8. Then how do we get column 4? How? It's column 2 minus column 3. 402 minus 60, 69.8. So this is 33 point. 332.2. Now how do we get the last column? We subtract column 1 minus column 4. 698. So how do we get? 36.5.8. So why do we take this 36.5.8? It becomes our opening balance. It's 6.5. It's 365.8. Then 10% of this one, what do we get? 36 point what? 58. Then how do we get that? We subtract these two. 402 minus 36.58. We get 365.8 or 0.42. So what remains is we subtract this and this, meaning you have paid off the loan completely. So this is what we call loan amortization. We basically want to repaying the loan. It may be 0 point something small, but it's a schedule that helps you repay your loan. All right. So this should be your homework, and this will be your homework. These are all questions coming from the textbook. So let's try this together. Although you try it on your own, construct a amortization schedule for a 30-year loan of 100,000 at 8%. So how do we calculate that? The amount of loan is equal to periodic payment, then the present value annuity. So what is the amount of loan in here? 100,000, right? What is our payment? That's what we're looking for, periodic payment. And interest factor, it's an annual loan, so 1 minus what? 1.08, because the interest rate is 8%. And the period of time is what? 30 over 0.08. So here put a negative 30. As I said, monthly, you would have multiplied this one by 30 and divided by the 8% by 30 and added it to 1. So in here, we're calculating the annuity factor. So when you calculate that, we're going to get in here 11.257. That's when you divide in there. So 100,000 divided by that. So your periodic payment will be 8,882. So this is how much we're paying. This is how much you'll be paying yearly, annual. But let me ask, maybe you do for the table, construct a table for the first what? 5 years. You can't do 30 years, meaning the whole table will be lost. For example, purposes, you can't do the entirety of the whole table. Okay. Are we getting somewhere? Are we confused? Huh? So let me now get to the exam question which had loan amortization. as an exam question where the loan was being amortized. What paper was that? Loan amortization. I don't have that paper here with me. All right, so you try these two here, the monthly payment, you get that. Okay. So we end here. I'm going to another class now.